Welcome to Talk Treatises. Today, we are taking a massive leap back in time, but the ideas we're about to discuss feel like they could have been written in a Silicon Valley manifesto yesterday.
They really could.
We are diving into a classic work of East Asian philosophy that challenges, well, almost every human instinct you have about family, art, and emotion.
It really is one of the most intellectually demanding texts we've ever covered.
Yeah.
Not because the language is flowery, in fact, it's incredibly blunt, but because it asks you to completely rewire how you view the world.
Imagine a philosopher who looks you in the eye and tells you that loving your own father more than a stranger is the root of all chaos in the world. And then, in the same breath, tells you that listening to music is a moral failure because it's a waste of time.
It sounds harsh to modern ears, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we have to contextualize this. We're looking at the Mozi, or the Book of Master Mo. And to understand why someone would write something this radical, you have to understand the world they were living in. This was the Warring States period in China.
And when historians say warring states, they aren't talking about a few border skirmishes.
No, not at all. We're talking about a total collapse of the social order. The old feudal system had just broken down. You had 7 major states locked in a death match for survival. It was a time of constant betrayal, siege warfare, and famine.
So if you were a peasant, your life expectancy was just brutal.
Brutal. And if you were a ruler, you slept with one eye open. This wasn't a time for sitting by a koi pond writing poetry about the moon.
Far from it.
And that's the key to unlocking this text. The Mozi isn't a book about finding inner peace or cultivating your soul. It is a survival manual. It's an emergency protocol for a society that is bleeding out.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this philosophy of Mohism, this system of, well, universal love, extreme utilitarianism, and strict meritocracy that was designed to stop the bleeding immediately.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's get into the machinery of this, because universal love sounds like a hippie slogan, but the rest of it sounds like ruthless pragmatism. How do those two things even fit in the same book?
That tension is what makes it so fascinating. Let's start with the diagnosis. The text looks at this world of sons killing fathers in states, crushing neighbors, and asks, what is the specific root cause of this disorder?
And the answer is?
The answer it comes up with is partiality.
Partiality, meaning playing favorites.
Exactly, meaning the distinction between self and other. The text breaks it down with a very cold logic. A thief loves his own house, but he doesn't love the other person's house.
Okay.
Because he loves his own and not the other, he steals. A ruler loves his own state, but not the neighbor's state. So he attacks the neighbor to benefit his own.
So the logic is that because we draw a circle around our people and say, I care about these people, but not those people, conflict is mathematically inevitable.
That's the claim. As long as you have us and them, you will have war. So the solution Mojiki proposes is Janai, or universal love. But, and this is crucial, we have to be careful with the word love.
Right, because in English, love implies romance or deep emotional affection. Butterflies in the stomach.
Exactly. Mozi doesn't care about your butterflies. This is love as a cognitive decision. It's a policy. The text argues that one must regard another's body as one's own, another's family as one's own, and another's state as one's own.
Okay, hold on. I get the theory, but that seems impossible. Biologically impossible. I mean, if my house is on fire, I'm saving my kids first. I'm not saving the neighbor's kids. No amount of philosophy is going to override millions of years of evolutionary programming that says protect your kin.
That is the most common objection, and Mozi anticipates it. He knows people will say it's too hard or against human nature. So he doesn't just say try harder, he tries to trap you with a thought experiment.
Okay, I love a trap. Lay it on me.
Imagine you have to go on a dangerous journey.
Right.
Maybe you're being drafted to one of those endless wars we mentioned. The odds of you coming back are 50-50. You need to leave your family, your aging parents, your young children in the care of a friend. You have 2 choices.
Okay, who are the candidates?
Candidate A is the partial person. This person is honest about their biology. They say, look, I like you, but I love my family more. If a famine hits and there's only enough food for 3 people, my kids eat and your kids starve, that's just nature.
Brutally honest. Okay.
Candidate B is the universal person. They say, I will care for your family exactly as I care for my own. If my children eat, your children eat. If your children freeze, I will give them my own code. Now, who do you entrust your family to?
Well, when you put it that way, I'd have to be insane to choose the partial person.
Why?
Because the partial person is effectively telling me that my family is expendable. In a crisis, my kids are dead under his watch. The universal person is the only safe bet.
And that is Mozi's aha moment. He argues that in words, we criticize universal love as unnatural, but in practice, when the chips are down and our survival is on the line, we instinctively trust the universalists.
So we want everyone else to be mohists, even if we want to stay partial ourselves.
Exactly. That is the hypocrisy he's pointing out. We want the benefits of a society that cares for everyone, but we want to reserve the right to be selfish personally. Partiality works fine when everything is going well, but as soon as there is a crisis, partiality destroys trust. And remember, this is the warring states. Everything is a crisis.
So if we accept that universal love is the software we need to run society, how does that translate to the hardware? Because you mentioned this philosophy is also about the economics of morality.
This is where the text pivots from love to metrics. Mozi establishes a yardstick for every single action, law, or custom in society. He asks 3 questions. Does it increase population? Does it increase wealth? Does it bring order?
It's purely utilitarian.
It is. And he applies this yardstick to things that were considered sacred at the time. For example, he launches a massive attack on fate.
The idea that things are meant to be.
Yes. In the faming chapters, he argues that belief in fate is economically disastrous. Think about it. If a peasant thinks poverty is his destiny, will he wake up at dawn to plow the fields?
Probably not. He'd just accept it.
Right. If a ruler thinks chaos is just the will of the cosmos, he won't bother trying to fix the government. Mozi argues that belief in fate makes people lazy. Success comes from strength and effort, not some pre-written cosmic script. He wants people working.
He's the ultimate pull yourself up by your bootstraps philosopher. But he applies this efficiency to funerals too, and this part seemed pretty extreme.
It was scandalous. You have to remember, in this culture, thick funerals were the norm. We're talking about massive, elaborate burials. If a parent died, you might be expected to mourn for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years, wearing hemp clothes, eating only gruel, and not working. It's an economy ender. Mozi looked at this and did the math. He argued that elaborate funerals bankrupt the living to honor the dead. They take wealth out of circulation and bury it in the ground, and the mourning periods take productive labor out of the workforce.
So what's his alternative? A quick goodbye?
The text literally prescribes a 3-inch coffin, just enough wood to cover the body, and immediate burial. Cry, say goodbye, and get back to work.
That is harsh. I mean, grief is a human process. You can't just optimize grief.
Mozi would ask, does your grief feed the hungry? If not, it's a luxury we can't afford. And this line of thinking leads to the most controversial part of the book, the section that usually alienates modern artists, the condemnation of music.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about this. How can you be against music? That's like being against puppies or sunshine.
It does seem that way unless you understand the context of the 3 goods. It's not that Mozi hates the sound of the melody. He isn't tone deaf. It's about opportunity cost.
Okay.
In the ancient world, music wasn't just humming a tune while you work. We were talking about state-sponsored rituals. Creating a set of bronze bells was a massive industrial undertaking. We're talking about the GDP of a small city.
So it's a luxury good.
A massive one, he argues. To cast these giant bells, you have to tax the peasants until they starve. To play the music, you need orchestras of strong men and women. That takes the men away from plowing and the women away from weaving.
And the rulers sit there listening to the bells while the fields go untilled.
Precisely. His argument is, the hungry are not fed, the cold are not clothed, and the weary are not rested. In that context, playing music is morally wrong. It's stealing labor that should be used for survival.
So if he were alive today, he wouldn't mind me humming in the shower, but he might look at a billion-dollar stadium concert and ask, why aren't you using that money to build hospitals?
He would absolutely say that. He would view the entertainment industry as a parasitic drain on resources that could be saving lives. There is no room for leisure if there is still suffering in the world.
That is a heavy burden to place on people, but I suppose if you follow that logic that wasting resources is a crime, then the ultimate waste of resources has to be war.
It is. And this brings us to one of the most famous arguments in the text, the logic of offensive war. Mozi uses a scaling argument to show that our moral compass is completely broken when it comes to international relations.
I think I see where this is going. Is this the stealing a peach analogy?
Yes. Walk me through the logic.
Okay, so if I climb into your garden and steal a peach, I get punished. Maybe a fine or a beating. Everyone agrees I'm a thief.
Correct.
If I escalate that, say I steal your dog or your pig, that's a bigger loss for you, so it's a bigger crime.
And if you kill a man on the road to take his coat?
That's a capital crime. Death penalty. The logic holds up. The more harm I do, the more wrong the action is.
So then Mozi points to the rulers of his day. What happens when a king invades a neighboring country, burns their crops, kills 10,000 men, and drags people into slavery?
We build a statue of him. We call him a hero.
The text calls this a confusion of distinctions, Mozi says. If you call black black when it's small, but call black white when there's a lot of it, you don't know the difference between black and white. Aggressive war is just murder on a massive scale. It is stealing big.
And it should be punished accordingly, not celebrated.
Exactly. Infinitely more severely.
It's a powerful critique. But here's my question. If everyone around him, the kings, the generals, the other philosophers, is celebrating war, what is Mozi using as his anchor? If society says war is good, on what authority does he say it's bad?
That is the central problem of moral philosophy, isn't it? If tradition is corrupt, what is the standard? For Mozi, the ultimate standard is the will of heaven.
Heaven, that's a loaded term in Chinese philosophy. Is he talking about a god? A force?
He treats heaven almost like a physical tool.
Yeah.
He uses the analogy of the carpenter's square. Just as a carpenter uses a square to check if a line is straight, we use heaven to check if our actions are right.
And how does he know what heaven wants?
His proof is interesting. It's almost empirical. He looks at the weather. He observes that heaven provides rain, sunlight, and harvest to everyone. It doesn't just rain on the aristocrats' fields, it rains on the peasants' fields too. Heaven feeds all. Therefore, heaven loves all.
So if I want to be righteous, I have to do what heaven does. I have to benefit everyone.
Correct. If you attack another state, you are murdering the subjects of heaven. And Mozi adds a very specific enforcement mechanism here, which often surprises modern readers. He insists very loudly that ghosts exist.
Ghosts, like spirits of the dead.
Yes, and not in a metaphorical way. He dedicates entire chapters to proving the existence of ghosts.
That seems like a strange detour for such a logical, pragmatic guy. Why does he need ghosts?
Think about the problem of crime. Why do people steal or kill? Usually because they think no one is watching. They think they can get away with it. Mozi needs a surveillance system. The ghosts are the cosmic police. They punish the wicked who commit crimes in secret.
So it's a way to ensure moral behavior even when the cops aren't around. You might fool the judge, but you can't fool the ghost of the guy you murdered.
Exactly. And this connects to his theory of knowledge. Remember how we said he's a pragmatist? Mozi offers 3 tests to know if something's true.
Right.
First, is there a historical basis? Second, does it bring benefit? And third, and this is the key for ghosts, is it confirmed by the eyes and ears of the common people?
The eyes and ears of the common people.
He argues, since the dawn of time, people have told stories of seeing spirits. Are we going to say all these people are liars? He trusts the sensory data of the masses over the skepticism of the elites. It's a very populist approach to truth.
It's fascinating how he uses everything, logic, theology, ghost stories, just to herd people toward that one goal, stopping the chaos.
It is. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. The machinery of government. It's not enough to just be nice. You need a system that functions. This is his concept of exaltation of the virtuous.
Which sounds a lot like what we call meritocracy today.
It is the direct ancestor of meritocracy. In the warring states, government jobs were hereditary. If your dad was a minister, you were a minister, even if you were an idiot. Mozi said this was suicide for the state.
So he argued that the government must promote the capable, regardless of their background. A farmer could become a high minister.
A farmer, an artisan, a shopkeeper. If they have the talent, they should lead. He uses the analogy of the butcher or the tailor. You wouldn't ask your favorite butcher to make a suit just because you like him. You'd hire a tailor. So why hire your incompetent nephew to run the army just because he's family?
It's undeniable logic. But
No.
there is a flip side to this, isn't there? Once you have these smart people in charge, what is the relationship between the ruler and the people?
This is where modern listeners might get a shiver down their spine. It's called identification with the superior. The idea is a strict chain of command for morality. The village agrees with the district agrees with the ruler, and the ruler agrees with heaven.
Agrees with. That sounds like a polite way of saying obeys without question.
It basically means total uniformity. Mozi believed that diversity of moral opinion was the cause of chaos. His phrase is, 1 man, 1 morality, 10 men, 10 moralities. If everyone thinks they know what's right, you get conflict. So to fix the world, everyone needs to be on the same page. What the superior approves, all must approve.
That sounds incredibly authoritarian. It sounds like a hive mind.
It effectively is. It's a benevolent dictatorship. He wants a system designed for maximum efficiency and kindness. But the price of that efficiency is individual dissent. You don't get to have your own private morality. You align with the program.
It really highlights the difference between his time and ours. We value diversity of thought. He viewed diversity of thought as a disease that caused civil war.
Because in his reality, it did cause civil war.
This is such a radical package. Universal love, anti-war, anti-music, pro-ghosts, and a meritocratic hive mind. It pushes buttons on both the left and the right.
It really does.
Which brings us to my favorite part of the show. We're going to take these ancient ideas and push them to their breaking point. It's time for thought experiments.
Let's do it.
Disclaimer time. The following scenarios are for educational and entertainment purposes only. We are just playing with ideas here.
Very Mohist disclaimer.
Thought experiment number 1. The AI benevolence algorithm. Imagine we program a super intelligent AI with the core source code of the Mozi. Its only parameters are maximize population, maximize wealth, and eliminate partiality.
A Moses machine.
We turn it on. What does it do? First, it probably looks at the concept of inheritance, passing money to your own kids, and bans it immediately. That's partiality. It redirects all that wealth to where it saves the most lives.
Then it looks at our resource usage. It would almost certainly shut down the entire luxury economy. Fashion, sports, video games, that's all music. It would calculate the energy and labor used to train an NFL player or produce a Marvel movie and reallocate that to building vertical farming or housing.
But let's go darker. If the goal is maximize population, does the AI ban birth control? Does it enforce a bedtime? Does it create a world where we are all perfectly fed, clothed, and safe, but we live in a joyless gray barracks because joy is inefficient?
That is the ultimate critique of utilitarianism. The AI might solve suffering, but it might eliminate the things that make life worth living. It forces us to ask, is survival the only metric that matters? Mozi assumes that if bellies are full, people are happy, but the AI might prove that without the wasteful things like art and love, we're just cattle.
Thought experiment number 2. The stealing estate legal defense. Let's say a modern international court adopts the Mozi's logic on offensive war.
Okay, applying the stealing a peach versus stealing a state logic.
A general or a president is on trial for an invasion. The defense lawyer stands up and says, "Your Honor, when a man steals a car, you fine him or jail him proportional to the theft. My client simply stole a country. Therefore, he shouldn't be executed or treated as a special war criminal. He should just be treated like a really, really big thief."
That twists the logic in a fascinating way. But I think the Mohist prosecutor would flip it. He would argue that since the crime is scaled up, the punishment must be scaled up. If stealing a peach gets you a beating, stealing a state shouldn't just get you a prison cell, it should get you something worse than death.
But the real twist is the removal of sovereign immunity. Right now, we treat leaders who declare war as distinct from street criminals. Mozi says they are exactly the same, just on a different scale. If we accepted that, we would have to police heads of state with the same police force we use for bank robbers.
It effectively removes the glory of politics. It treats geopolitics as simple criminology. If we actually viewed world leaders who start wars as nothing more than mega thieves or super murderers, it would fundamentally change how we write history books.
No more statues for conquerors, just mugshots in the history books.
That would certainly change the incentive structure for becoming a leader.
So what does this all mean for us today? We aren't in the warring states period, but looking at the news, sometimes it feels like we're close.
I think the Mozi leaves us with a very uncomfortable mirror. It asks us to look at our budget, our personal budget and our national budget, and justify it. We spend billions on music, on entertainment, on status, on comfort, while people in our own cities and around the world are struggling.
It calls out our partiality, it asks. Is your love for your family just a biologically programmed form of selfishness? And if you could expand that circle even a little bit, if you could treat the stranger just 1% more like you treat your brother, would the world be safer?
It demands that we sacrifice personal preference for the greater good. It's the most demanding form of altruism there is. It's ruthless, yes, but it's ruthless because it cares so deeply about eliminating suffering.
A demanding philosophy for a demanding world. And on that note, here is a final provocative thought for you to chew on. If Mozi is right that universal love is the only way to stop chaos, does that mean that privacy, the right to have a private life, private thoughts and private affections, is actually an obstacle to peace?
That is a dangerous thought.
That's why we leave it for the ride home. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the Mozi on Talk treatises.
See you next time.